Hey team, welcome in. Wish Thinker here. So, I recently made a video about my tarot journal and this astrological reference chart that I have in the back of it. And I explained a little bit in there, but I'm going to do a fuller explanation here in this video about my approach to tarot astrology, astrology tarot, and breaking this down. I know it's very common to use what's called the natural zodiac or the ABC astrology when using tarot and astrology, where it's often considered that the Emperor is Aries, is the first house, and Chariot is Cancer, which is the fourth house. And the astrology that I practice separates out houses from signs. Aries is not the first house, Taurus is not the second house, and so on. When I talk astrology to someone, I want to be able to talk about the houses and describe them without having to borrow information from any other part of astrology. I don't want to have to reference something you don't know to explain something you don't know. So I just want to talk about the houses as the houses, which means I can't use anything that has to play double duty as a house and a sign. And then separately, I want to talk about the signs without having to lean too much on the ruler or whatever houses they may be in or may have signification with. I just want to give you information on the sign. And then I just want to give you information on the planet. And so I need to have a tarot astrology system that gives me a separation between these major arcana cards being both sign and house. I think the main point I would like to share is that tarot is something that you can co create system and meaning with. So if the astrological system that is common, or even this system, just does not resonate, and you have been building a relationship with astrology and or tarot or anything, and you want to apply your own meanings to the cards, that is the whole point. That you develop a relationship with symbol and sign. That you develop your own intuition. Because if the card meant what it meant with no variation and no ability to mean different things to different people, then tarot would have been codified and computerized a really long time ago. But it's an intuitive practice where it matters who's looking at it and it matters what they're thinking and what they're going through. So it matters if you have your own meaning for Emperor, or if fourth house means something to you that you can easily find in a tarot card, and that's now your fourth house card. Okay? Okay, great. So the system that I use, I learned from Mary Kay Greer's Tarot for Yourself, and it takes these central cards here, which people often equate to zodiac signs, and it puts them as houses. So Emperor is the first house. It's everybody's first house. You have to treat yourself like an emperor, because if you let just anybody into your life, now it's like they have freely invaded your country. Like, you can't disparage yourself. Like, you are not the emperor of your own empire, which is your own life. Doesn't matter how you actually feel about your own country on the inside, you have to have this face to protect yourself, right? The Hierophant, as like the way things are, order, kind of the longevity of infrastructure that really has like societal meaning to it, money, generational wealth, okay, and so on. So that's how I equate that. So it's just these cards, and they equate to house meaning. And then these cards are the planets. So there's something called the planetary joy scheme, which assigns certain houses as having a particular joy for each of the seven traditional planets. So the first house is known as the helm, and it's where Mercury finds his joy. So I put Mercury here on the first house. The third house is known as the joy of the goddess, or the house of the goddess, and is the moon's joy. The fifth house is the house of good spirit and is where Venus finds her joy. The sixth house is the house of bad spirit. I think I have these backwards. I think this is good fortune and bad fortune, and this is good spirit and bad spirit. I made this very early in my studies. So the fifth house is the house of, I believe, good fortune, where Venus finds her joy. Sixth house is bad fortune, which is where Mars finds his joy. Ninth house is the house of God, where Sun finds his joy. 11th house is the house of good spirit? Question mark? I don't remember. I would have to review. This has thrown me way off. Where Jupiter finds his joy, and 12th house is the house of bad fortune slash spirit, don't remember, where Saturn finds his joy. And then finally, I need cards that represent the signs that hopefully don't rely on the major arcana at all, because I'm running out of cards in the major arcana to have 12 houses, 12 signs. That's 24. That's already too much. Plus 7 traditional planets and our 3 far planets, so 10 planets. So I need sign cards, cards that will represent the signs of the zodiac that are not part of the major arcana. And I don't really want to use pip cards because I want there to be some like weight to them. And so this is the system. Cardinals are queens, fixed signs are kings, mutables are knights. Fire is wands, water is cups, air is swords, and earth is pentacles. So Leo is a fixed fire sign, so it's going to be a king of wands. Okay? So that is my astrological reference. Now, this is what's in the book, but this is not even what I would use any longer. For example, Mars is often given this card of the Tower, but I would probably give this card to Uranus because he's such a disruptor. And I know that Mercury is often seen as the magician, but just in my own personal practice, I have found a lot of resonance with Mars being the magician and Mercury being the chariot, because Mercury can navigate through anything, any conversation, any technical snafu, literally navigating like through the neighborhood. Mercury can do it. Mars has to have a certain personal authority and power, not only to wield the power that Mars wants, but to know when not to, right? The magician just kind of works for the king, which I think is more Mars energy than Mercury energy, and can do what he wants and have the ambition he wants, as long as he still does what the king wants, right? Sun has exaltation in Aries. When Aries visits Mars when Sun visits Mars in Aries, Mars is hosting his exalted guest. And so Mars has to know, as like the court magician, when to bring the power and when to not smite his enemies with that power, because he's got things to do for the king. Like, he's got to be responsible with the amount of power he holds. So, for example, those are some differences that I would make without even getting through everything, without even looking at, do I still support that cardinal is queen and fixed is king, or would I like to switch them? And it's just an ongoing thought process over and over and over and over again. But this is what's in the journal, and that is my explanation on what it means and where it came from and how to use it. Do you use this astrological system for your tarot deck? Thanks for sticking around. I soft quit my job and I don't really have a plan. I'm just sharing all the things I can share on the YouTube to stay busy. So if you could help Support me. I would appreciate being able to give you more videos and staying housed.